concentrate.
Odd. The Universal Translator has not converted this data stream.
Because it's written in the language of my homeworld. Solum.
On a Federation ship? How's that possible?
It's not. My father and I are the last of our kind, and we've never encountered Starfleet before. Maybe I can crack it.
Remember, it is not mere translation,
but interpretation. There's no barrier we cannot overcome, for we are thou Nakad.
Access granted.
Welcome, everybody, to Deep Space Pride, a gay Star Trek podcast. My name is Mike. I am one of your hosts, and with me is my co-host, Johnston.
Hey,
Johnston,
Mike.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I am good.
Actually, no, today was terrible, but I'm alive.
I am good. I am terrible. Life is fine. Life is a disaster. I'm dying.
Today was like a complete clusterfuck, but it was okay.
Oh, well, you seem to have survived.
No, I survived. So my washer dryer isn't working.
Oh, this drama.
My new washer dryer isn't working. I know these are first world problems. And Best Buy was sending a technician, and the window was 1 to 6 o'clock. So I'm waiting, I'm working.
That's not a window. That's like a garage door.
Ridiculous, right? So I'm waiting. And it's 5:40. I'm like, where is this person? And then Best Buy sends an email at 5:43 saying, oh, we're on our way. We'll be there at 5:50. It's like, okay, because they need to make the window, right?
Yes.
5:50 comes, no one. 6:10, 6:15. I'm like, where is this fucker? So I call Best Buy and they're like, oh, they haven't arrived yet? I'm like, no, there's no one here. And they try to get in touch with the technician and they can't find this guy. They don't know where he is. So meanwhile, I had taken the door off my closet to make way for this guy to inspect my washer dryer. It's this whole process. And I don't mind stuff like that. It's just annoying, obviously, because I had to it's this whole thing. And yeah, they had to, now it's next week. But they're apparently going to compensate me. They're like, we'll give you a partial refund. I'm like, how much? I literally said, how much? And they're like, oh, we'll let you know once the job is fully complete. I'm like, it's going to be $5. I need more than $5.
You're going to get a $5 Best Buy gift certificate.
Well, yeah, I was like, they were like, oh, do you want a gift card or a refund? I'm like, refund. And I just want to know how much it is. Tell me. But anyway, now it's next week. I'm like, great. Thanks. I was really annoyed. I was really displeased, and I made my displeasure known. So,
yeah, we actually got our fridge from PC Richards, which actually worked out pretty well. We actually got it right before the pandemic started. So,
okay,
before lockdown. So, yeah, I don't know that I would default to going to Best Buy first for a washer dryer, but
it was fine. I mean, the actual original install was okay, but then they had problems. There were problems with the install.
Of course, yeah. And then there's problems with your washer not going into an error or something.
Yeah, so whatever.
Wow. Well, and that sounds that sort of sounds like the day that Hamish had. Hamish got neutered today, so...
Is it the same?
I mean, you wake up in the morning and suddenly by, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you don't have any balls.
Your balls are gone.
Your balls are gone. I mean, that's a pretty, traumatic experience. So he's living with life with a cone. Oh, and so, my complaint was, So, as a parent slash doggy parent, doggy daddy, right? There are no days off. There are no days off. Once you have a kid, once you have a dog, there are no days off. And today was going to be my day off because we got to drop him off at 8:30, which was fine. We got up and left at like 8 and walked until he did his morning business. And then we walked to the vet and dropped him off. Mm-hmm. And we were planning to pick him up at 5, which was, the originally quoted time to me 2 or 3 vet visits ago, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And then Dennis yells in at like 12:30, "Oh, Hamish is ready. We can pick him up at 1 o'clock." And I'm like, what the fuck? No, I 5. We're picking him up at 5. And he was like, no, he's ready. Like they did his surgery early. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I was just annoyed.
Well, we all need to live with our choices.
I mean, I love Hamish to death. It's just nice to have a break. Yes.
It's like how parents need like a break once in a while.
Yeah, so same thing. So I was talking to one of my colleagues. I am going on a youth service trip as a chaperone. And we were talking about it today. Mm-hmm. And she was asking me, confirming that I was still going to go. And I was like, yeah, sure. Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't I go? And because one of the other chaperone had backed out.
Oh, okay.
Because of Omicron. And so we were just talking about a bunch of different things, mostly work related. And then I asked, have the parents complained? Like, have the parents said, oh, we're going to back out or whatever? Not one parent has backed out saying their kids aren't going. In fact, they a couple of them have reached out and said they're still going, right? Uh-huh. And I was like, of course they want their kids to go. They're not going to back out. They get a week-long vacation from their kids. They're not going to back out. Yeah. So yes, I think parents need breaks from their kids, and so I don't know if we're gonna she's gonna try to get another chaperone for this trip. Yeah, we'll see. It may
How old are the kids you're chaperoning?
How old?
Yeah.
A middle school and high school. Ugh. So there's 14 of them. So
do you know them?
I know most of them. I know their parents, most of their parents as well. So they were all, when their parents found out that I was going as one of the chaperones, they were all pretty pleased. So
I would never do that. I would never volunteer for that kind of activity.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about it. So we're going to New Orleans. Meanwhile, the rest of our friend group is going to LA.
That's right.
So you're going to LA. Dennis is going to LA. Tony's going to LA. Mm-hmm. You're meeting up with people we know in LA.
Yes.
And I will be in New Orleans with 14 kids, and another chaperone.
Yeah, you will.
But
maybe it'll be fun for you.
Oh yeah, no, I think it'll be fun. It'll be exhausting. I think I'm gonna come back and sleep for a week.
Exhausting, yeah, sounds exhausting. Sounds terrible.
But yeah, so yeah, that's what's going on here. So my day was fine, other than we went and picked Hamish up, and he's living life in a cone, and just kind of he groans and he whines, and but he's got medicine.
Not happy.
He's not generally happy. No, this is a
highly. I wouldn't want to live with a cone around my head.
No, of course not. Not when you're a super happy, energetic, want to go everywhere, be outside, play with other dogs, active puppy. This is not the ideal situation. So, and he's going to be
you need to keep it on
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah, they really want to make sure. Yeah, they really want to make sure that this heals. Wow. So so Dennis leaves for Austin on Friday, so it's just me and Hamish. Oh my God. But now I was gonna, over the weekend I was gonna take him to the park and play. He could play with other dogs and exhaust him, and because it's not during the work week, and I could take him and we could sit out there if the weather is decent and he can play for an hour or whatever. Whereas I can't really do that during the week because I'm working, and so our walks are kind of like my lunch break or a quick in and out or whatever. So sure. Yeah, so we are relegated to non-rigorous non-vigorous, sorry, not well, vigorous. I guess it's roughly the same activities. So he's gonna have to chill out for 2 weeks.
Let's give him some Xanax.
Well, he's got some medicines for the pain and whatnot, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. This puppy wanted to be like active the second he saw us as he was coming out of the back of the vet. So yeah, Dennis is going away, and it's just Hamish and I.
Enjoy. Have fun.
I mean, I get the bed to myself.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you
Um,
do.
So that's not a bad thing.
Yeah. All right.
So
Well,
yeah, so
that's the one upside.
yeah, there we go. Yeah. So I guess I was dishing with Dana on the fly there. So I guess we are here to talk about Star Trek. This is a Star Trek podcast.
Yes, it's Star Trek. I mean, we usually spend around like 7 to 10 minutes just updating about personal stuff.
Yeah,
but we are here to eventually talk about Star Trek. Yes.
So you shared there's news today. There was news.
Yes, there's some news. There is some news. So apparently there's going to be an audiobook or an audio novel, whatever, I don't know what you call it.
It's an audio drama.
Audio drama that stars Seven and Rafi. Like it's their adventure together post Picard season 1
on holiday.
And it's going to be premiering at the end of February. So that's something to look forward to, I guess.
Yeah, I love audio dramas. I think this is an area where Star Trek has once again kind of fallen behind and not looked at the landscape. I mean, Star Wars has done this. Doctor Who has done this for 25 years. So this...
I've never really gotten to audio dramas, so...
Yeah, you don't like audiobooks.
Yeah, that's something I'm like, I missed out on.
Yeah, I love audiobooks, and I love audio dramas, and I'm sure hopefully this will be done really well. Hopefully the sales will be also really good, so they'll maybe think about doing some more of this. But this should have been like an inevitable fact of the last 2 years. Like this was a perfect opportunity to do some of this while people were locked down. For instance, so in Doctor Who in the UK, this company called Big Finish has done these audio dramas for 25 years, using the various actors who have played the Doctor from Doctor Who. And one of the doctors a few years ago was David Tennant, who most people, you say David Tennant, they know who that is. And he finally, during this time, signed up with Big Finish to do these audio dramas and has recorded I would say like a good half dozen at least, if not more, during this pandemic. And it's just a great way to expand the universe, to provide content. It's another revenue stream for companies. So it's kind of shocking. Well, it's not shocking really, that Simon & Schuster is getting into this. Yeah. So I really hope that it goes well, and that they'll do some more of these, because I think there's a great opportunity. I mean, think about it for Discovery. Like we could go into Tilly's Starfleet Academy experiences. We could go into Bryce's experience on the Clark, I want to say, at the beginning of this. Yes. Yeah, he was doing this thing on the Clark. So, there's and those are two off the top of my head. I mean, there's the 5 months in between seasons 3 and season 4 that they can fill in the gaps and do some audio adventures with. So this is really a fertile ground. I just don't understand why it's taken Star Trek and Paramount /CBS /Simon & Schuster all this time to get to this point, but here we are. So yeah,
it's something. I don't know how in demand it is. I mean, it's something, I guess. I don't have any data. I have no data to understand what kind of market there is for audio dramas, but I'm sure there's some market.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
there
yeah.
absolutely is. I love audiobooks, but I also love audio dramas. I probably have a couple hundred audio dramas from this UK company for Doctor Who. This is a very lucrative area of in Doctor Who. I would say I don't know numbers, but I would say that Doctor Who and Star Trek probably are on par with number of fans. So it's just a great opportunity they could do Kelvin universe audio dramas. There's just so much they could do.
All right, one step at a time. Let's get this one out of the way and see how it goes. So that's news. Yeah. And then I was also talking to you, was it end of last week or beginning of this week, when I was like, oh my God, Chicago's in 3 months.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, it was over the weekend. I think we were talking about that.
Yeah, I was like, what? Star Trek Chicago is coming up and we have no plans. Well, we haven't got very far.
We haven't. I was talking to Bill, our executive producer, a little bit, and I'm still surprised that they're going to do this. But so quick aside, this Saturday is a telethon for the Hollywood Food Coalition, sponsored by Trek Geeks and the Roddenberry podcast groups. They're doing this 3-hour-ish telethon on trektalks.net. Check that out. We ran a promo at the beginning of last week's episode. People, so I was talking to Bill, and he was telling me that a lot of people jumped onto this because of the current situation with Omicron. Like people like Jerry Taylor, they got not Jerry Taylor, they got Jerry Ryan and Will Wheaton specifically because of Omicron, and they're not traveling to conventions. And so I began to wonder, like when he said that for me sparked, well, what's going to happen with Chicago? How many are we going to get there and like have the whole Next Generation cast like bail again, like we did in Las Vegas?
I know, that was sad.
So yeah, that was sad. So especially since we are Next Generation people, that's right. That's our primary. I mean, I did watch the original series as in reruns as a younger kid, but when I turned 13, Star Trek: The Next Generation came on, and that's really my entry to Star Trek. So yeah, so seeing the cast and crew of Star Trek: The Next Generation would be exciting and a big deal for us.
Yeah,
and
that'd be exciting.
None of them were at Las Vegas.
They were not.
And Will Wheaton, I think, was the third person who was announced for Mission Chicago.
The list is still kind of small, but it's still very far away.
Yeah. So
I mean, 3 months, if 3 months is far, I suppose. But
I don't know. 3 months ago we got Hamish. So it seems like a long time ago, but in reality it wasn't a long time ago either.
Yeah.
So 3 months to Mission Chicago. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. We're not going to Vegas, right? I think we established this.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not really planning on going to Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
No.
Well, besides, I mean, right now, I mean, should things in the world change and get better, this summer my vacation would primarily be used for going to the Philippines and Asia. So,
well, that would be a big trip.
Right. So, yeah. So, I don't think Las Vegas is really in the cards. And I mean, when it's not sponsored by
Paramount, CBS, Viacom,
whatever they're called, Paramount Plus, it just begs the question,
it's just a little weird. Yeah. We thought, it's like how we thought last year. It was kind of odd. But whatever. Yeah.
So, but Mission Chicago is sponsored.
Correct.
And so
it's official.
It's an official Star Trek convention. So
correct.
3 months away, Chicago, here we come.
Yay.
Please let some stars come that we want to see. Please.
It's gonna be cold. April in Chicago. It's still gonna be.
I mean, it's
chilly.
cold here in New York right now.
I know, but Chicago takes longer to warm up than New York.
Yes, but you were looking at hotels that are connected to the convention center.
Correct. So we don't have to go outside.
We don't have to go outside.
Yeah. It'll be like Vegas. It's like, oh my God, it's so hot. I'm like on the surface of the sun right now. I don't want to be outside. It's like that.
Oh, I see. Yes. But I mean, we would have to venture out just like we did in Vegas for food.
Right.
Potentially.
I mean, we did eat in the hotel like once or something. I don't remember.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
In any case.
All
cool.
right.
Should we move on to this week's episode of Prodigy?
Yeah. So, yeah, no more Discovery. We've already discussed that to death.
We know. We understand.
So yeah, Prodigy back with a vengeance. This is a strong start to the second block of 5 episodes that we're gonna see, and had some heavy hitters in it. So let's talk about Star Trek Prodigy episode 6, Kobayashi.
It's go time. This is the Kobayashi Maru. Yeah, we hear you, Kobe. Why don't you enjoy some relaxing tunes?
All channels are totally jammed, Captain.
It's a little loud, which means our stealthy Klingon pals can't hear what's coming next. Engage impulse in a barrel roll loop. Overload the warp core. 130%.
The plasma intercooler's gone. The engines are overheating.
Frankly, I fail to see any point at all.
Gotta keep them on their toes, Jellyman. I've blown up so many times. I see now. The only way out is chaos. 3, 2, 1. Presto! Got a present for you, and it comes with a message. What's that old Klingon saying again? Oh, yeah. Revenge is a dish best served cold. Scotty! Eject warp core!
You got it, Captain.
Lasers! Full spread!
Sweeping the area of Outpost 2. Sensor reading indefinite.
And the Kobayashi?
Despite your unconventional tactics, they're still alive.
Yes!
So, Johnson, I know you had a plan for how we talk about Discovery, but Prodigy is much simpler. So,
Well, you still have like kind of there's two storylines. There's actually 2.5 storylines if you think about it. They fit a lot into 24 minutes. It was insane.
I'm
like,
having trouble remembering what the 1.5 other storylines were.
So you had Dal doing the Kobayashi Maru.
Right.
You had the whole storyline with Gwyn and Zero and Janeway trying to figure out the mystery of like what's
the protostar. Yep.
And then you had Rock Talk with Murph. That's the half.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like we find out that Murph is indestructible. So
yes.
That was like a little C minus plot.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
Yeah, that's why I said 2.5.
Okay, yeah.
So they did. They actually fit a lot into this episode.
They really did.
Crazy.
Did you enjoy this episode?
I did. I really enjoyed this episode. I feel like it was like, so it's episode 6, and they barely had much in the way of Easter eggs. Obviously, there have been references, but it's like they decided to watch Lower Decks and like decided, oh my God, we need to catch up or something. And they crammed a zillion Easter eggs into this one episode. I feel that's what they did. It was crazy.
Yeah, and that's really only for me, that's the Dal Kobayashi Maru part of the story. I'm trying to think if there's anything in the other 2 pieces that were
just Chakotay at the end.
Oh, right. Yes. Captain Chakotay.
Yeah, that was a big drop. Info
yeah,
drop.
that was a big drop. He was captain of the protostar.
And then the flashback. That was a big info drop too, because they flash back 17 years ago the diviner was already searching for,
That's actually a whole nother storyline.
Already searching for the protostar, it sounds like, for a long time. And I was like, what? Because this entire time we've been talking about how Prodigy is happening in like 2383 or so. So it's like, how does this fit? Like, what, what's going on? And I did read an interview. Unfortunately, it sounds like there's time travel involved. I'm like, because you hear there's like this with Chakotay at the end of the recording, they like encountered some sort of anomaly and they were getting boarded. And there's an interview with the writer. I don't remember his name. There were a few interviews posted with him, and he was like, I can't review anything. And then the interviewer was like, does it rhyme with time travel? Like, stupid. And then he was like, maybe. I was like, oh my God. Okay, so this is if it is indeed time travel, which would not shock me, I feel, first of all, do we need time travel on a kid show? I don't know. But time travel is just so overused on Star Trek. It's so overused. It's too much. 2009 Star Trek, Discovery season 2 and season 3 time travel. Picard season 2 is going to have time travel. And now we have time travel in Prodigy. Like, my God, do we need this much time travel? Like, it doesn't always need to be a narrative crutch for the show, for the series. But it really has become like the go-to. I wouldn't be shocked. I would not be shocked if there's time travel in season 4 of Discovery. Like, if we somehow find out that there's some time travel involved in the DMA, like in the creation of DMA, that would not blow my mind. I'd be like, oh my God, time travel. Like,
well, hopefully there's no time travel. Well, I mean, there's probably, if Pike is having any flashbacks to his memories of how he dies, that's sort of time travel. So Strange New Worlds could even have it. So the 17 year, there's just, I think, I agree. I think it's a little bit much for a kids show. I found it interesting that, we now know that Gwen is sort of like a clone-ish something or other from the Diviner. So, and technically, they are the two last of their species. So, which I cannot remember the name of it. Tua Navat or something like that.
Yeah, I don't.
So that was interesting, and that's where I had forgotten about until you mentioned it, the little comment about the looking for the protostar. And so I don't know, now I'm even more confused because I thought, 17 years ago, this is about how old Gwen is. She's gonna be 17, but
right.
But they show in this flashback that she comes out looking like she does now.
So that was also an interview. He clarified that it's not supposed to be like, oh, she came out of the tube as an adult. Like, it's supposed to kind of just show that eventually. I mean, because the Diviner is still kind of in the tube, like even in the season premiere. So it's supposed to kind of show her evolution to adulthood. Or so.
Okay. Well, these are very not clear pieces of this. This episode. All right, so we have that. Shall we go back to Dal, or do you want to talk about,
You're leading this particular episode, so I leave it up to you.
I mean, the all the Star Trek Easter eggs are in the Kobayashi Maru.
In the holodeck, yeah.
Yes, in the holodeck, and I mean, first you see the bridge of the Enterprise D, which is
right.
Cool.
But even before that, I liked some of the callbacks. It was like, and Doria. It's like they were
Doria 4.
They were on SETI Alpha 5.
Oh yes, right.
Skydiving.
Yeah.
Like Jane Eyre. I was like, of course. I was like, perfect for Janeway.
For Janeway, exactly. Yeah.
I love that. You're like a Jane Eyre, Jane Austen kind of like novel, like hollow novel. That's perfect. Perfect callback.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, when they showed the Enterprise D, I think I screamed a little bit. Yeah, that was great.
I mean, it was pretty good to see that. And then you get to pick your crew, and of course he has no context for picking it, and so they honor some really cool different three of them are no longer with us.
No, Nichelle Nichols is still around. Right, Scotty, James Doohan.
Spock,
I forgot. Well, James Doohan had 2 lines, but yes, 3 of the 5.
Yeah, 3 of the 5 were, and
I thought we were talking about Nichelle Nichols.
No. Yes, let's not bring that up. But yeah, so I guess I thought it was interesting that they put the characters in the different positions that didn't really seem to make sense. But again, I don't know. It just seemed like
you mean their stations?
Yeah, there's stations on the bridge. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that was an interesting choice, or I don't know if interesting is the right word. I thought it was an odd choice, actually, of where they put her at ops and Odo at the navigation con, and then it was great seeing Spock, but Beverly as his. Well, that's
where Beverly usually sits. Like if she does sit. If Deanna wasn't there.
Deanna wasn't there. So yeah, I mean
Spock is like the commander, the first officer, so that's where he would sit.
Yeah, no, that was fun. Yeah.
But Odo should have been at like tactical.
Behind
But he wasn't really tactical, he was security, it wasn't quite the same.
True. But anyway, it was great to hear their voices. Obviously they pulled all of the stuff out of episodes and movies of Star Trek. So that was kind of cool. Although
I was thinking about it during the viewing of the episode, and I also confirmed in the follow-up interviews that I read that I was like, this must have been a nightmare to like hunt down the right clips. And not all of them really fit that well. Like there were a few that I was like, oh, it's like but I didn't mind that. It was still kind of like, especially some of the Spock clips, they sounded just very different.
Yeah, his voice changed, obviously from the young to the old to the really old Leonard Nimoy. So, yeah.
I don't know if they could smooth that out anymore, but I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it too much.
I didn't mind it. I felt it was a little bit disjointed, and it did sort of take me out of the episode a little bit to process that and think about, where is that from? What, that sort of thing. Right. And I'm wondering if Gates actually did her lines.
She did.
She did. Okay.
She recorded new lines. Yeah. She was the only one.
She was the only one. Yeah. O'Hara's were from the original series. And Odo didn't say a whole lot, but what he did say, was very typical Odo.
Yeah.
I think Odo was probably the biggest homage because he didn't say a lot, but just having him there was sort of the homage to him,
right?
To Rene Auberjonois. So yeah, and then to have Scotty come back at the end. I mean, so we actually did talk a little bit about this episode after you watched it.
Mm-hmm.
And your first remark is Dal as being a
oh my god, so fucking annoying.
Yes, there we go. So, and I totally agreed. I was like, oh, here we go, backtracking on the development of the character, I guess, or I guess it's the teenager. So yeah, we're gonna go back to this sort of attitude again. After I thought we'd kind of gotten over that at the end of episode 5.
I mean, he grew like minimally on the planet, but I mean, I feel he just grew to kind of like not hate Gwen. Like that was kind of development. I don't know how much he grew as a leader.
Well, clearly not enough until he went through the Kobayashi Maru like 100
We'll
times.
see how much of that actually sticks, though.
Right? Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah, but I was impressed with his determination, although he was still a jerk to Jankum Pog, which was really, he was making all these sarcastic remarks about how Spock was better than Jankum and how, all of this stuff. And I felt bad for Jankum, but, it rolls off the back of a Tellarite like nothing. If he's not being insulted, it's probably not
right.
Even communication. So,
yeah.
But I thought I was really impressed with Dal's like determination and eventually his creativity.
Yes, he was creative.
I thought that there were some really creative moves that he did. Of course, then he would blow it after he did this really cool creative move and won, and then got lax again and died. So I thought it was enjoyable to see how he got creative, and also at the end how Spock gives a lot of pearls of wisdom from throughout Star Trek.
I know.
And hopefully he'll understand that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one, and this will stick this time. But I thought it was really kind of cool to see how he played it differently and tried some really unique things that no Starfleet cadet would ever think to do, probably because they're so programmed. And here's this this kid who's completely unprogrammed,
right and yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's more unorthodox because of that.
Yeah, so but he did admit that he's never captained a ship either, which is true and
obviously
makes a lot of sense. But
no shit.
Yeah, but to say that out loud, I think was also a bit of a character development point for him. So, but I enjoyed that part a lot. I thought that so much so that I forgot about all the other stuff until you mentioned it, all the other stuff. That was going on.
I mean, I think that was the even though that, I guess that was an A plot. I guess. I mean, in terms of narrative movement, it's definitely more like Gwen's narrative that kind of moves things along, but. Yeah, I mean, this was definitely kind of the star in the sense of all the Easter eggs, all the callbacks. For some reason, in this season of Discovery and Prodigy, we have episodes named after the Kobayashi Maru.
Yeah, this one
coincidentally. And we also had another episode of Prodigy. Remember Terra Firma?
Oh yes, yep.
Yeah. I don't know. They're big Discovery fans or something.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, but Kobayashi is, been around for a long
right,
time.
Right. It just so happened that two episodes in this season in two different shows
are
had the same name.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah. No, you're right. But I really enjoyed that part of the episode. Shall we move on to one of the other points of the episode, or do you have any other thoughts on Dal's kind of
on Dal's? No, I don't think so. No, I mean, I think it was pretty light. I mean, it was all about just the references and Easter eggs. So
yeah, for sure. So what do you want to tackle next? You want to talk a little bit about I feel like this is just a quick side note, but Murph is indestructible.
Apparently, yes.
And last I heard, no one's guessed who or what Murph is. So
so maybe that will be revealed at some point.
So yeah, I mean, no one's guessed what Murph is still. We don't know. No one's really figured that out. Maybe it's in the encrypted archive of the protostar, who knows? But I actually got a little scared. I mean, that was a little bit of a scary moment when he ingested all of those explosives.
Oh, really? I found nothing.
No. Oh, well.
I was like, he's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Whatever.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the point of it is other than to just add some comedic.
I mean, I have no emotional connection to this blob, so.
Well, and he doesn't really. They don't really speak any known language. I mean, right. Rock Talk is really the only person that understands him.
I guess.
So, so that was there was that little caveat, that little story, mini story, 0.5 plot line, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But why don't you talk a little bit about Gwen's storyline and them and Janeway and uncovering.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, apparently they just traveled 4,000 light years into the Gamma Quadrant, or close to the Gamma Quadrant. So I was like, that's really far. And I do not understand how the Diviner is going to catch up with them. Like, if the Diviner catches up to them, I call shenanigans, because that's ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
And space is huge. Like 4,000 light years in one direction. You're talking about potentially searching for a ship with within a 4,000 light year radius. You know, you have no idea. Space is massive. Like unless they like purposely go back and find a diviner or something like that, I guess we'll see. I just I would be hard pressed to understand how a diviner can find them. So I don't know. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I don't.
Yeah, no, I liked Gwen's storyline because we got, I like, again, that's where we got kind of the moving the plot forward, and we got all these drops of information, such as, yes, the Protostar has been apparently in the Delta Quadrant for quite some time, where I just think that it's going to get a little messy if there is time travel, because I did watch this episode twice, and the Diviner's robot, I don't remember what his name is, Cyborg, what's his name? Dreadnought or something, right?
Dreadnought, yes.
He just makes this offhand comment because the Diviner he's saying that the Diviner is still searching for the Protostar, and Dreadnought was like, oh yeah, men have spent their entire lives looking for this ship. And I was like, okay, how long has the Protostar been missing in the Delta Quadrant? And the thing is that if it's really been missing in the Delta Quadrant for so long, it seems just very unlikely that Janeway and Voyager never encountered any information about the Protostar. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like it just gets messy.
It doesn't line up. It doesn't line. Yeah,
it gets really messy. And if the designer has so much influence on the Delta Quadrant, and other people have been searching for the starship, like, it's just like, I think it's very hard to kind of then avoid, I don't know, like basically like bait and switches when it comes to like plot line. And I don't know, it's messy. I think it's just messy. If it is indeed like time travel, we'll see what happens. We'll see what they do, but I don't know. Like, I'm just like not sure where this is going. But I did like I did like the info drops, but I feel conflicted about where it's gonna head.
Yeah, I mean, and this just occurred to me: is it possible that the Protostar drive went into the future? Like, is it possible that when they enabled the Protostar drive, that not only did it go 4,000 light years, but did it go 10 years into the future?
Oh, you mean like just now? I don't know, but I feel that they would be able to tell if they did. Like Jamie would be able to tell, oh, we're not when we were, or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That just occurred to me, but yeah, I agree with you. I think that. Well, I mean,
we don't know yet. We don't know all the details yet, but it feels like it could potentially get very messy.
Yeah.
Very like retconny. Like, I don't know.
Do we know what year did Voyager return to the Alpha Quadrant?
Wasn't it like 2379 or something?
That's what 79 kind of sticks out for me.
Yeah, I feel it's around then. It's sad that I feel like I have like a grasp of like these like fictional dates, but I don't know like real dates in
our history.
In our history, yeah, it's very sad.
Yeah, I agree. I'm the same way, sort of a little bit. Yeah. Yeah,
So
I don't know.
I'm looking to see.
Yeah, I figured you were.
When
I think 2379 sounds about right. Yeah. So yeah, I think it could get messy. I am not sure why we needed to go down this route. I mean, I guess if you have a timeline for the protostar, then I mean, it looks different than the Prometheus. It looks different than Voyager. It looks different than the Equinox. So it's definitely. I mean, it looks like it could potentially belong in the 32nd century. Honestly, to some extent. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
2378.
Okay.
You're close. 2378. Yep. You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. So well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. We've got 4 more episodes in part 2 of the season. I don't even know what to call it anymore. I guess we'll find out. I don't know. I wonder if they're trying to appease or get more adults into it, but I don't see how any of these details would sort of attract a younger audience.
You mean with like all the details of Dal, or are you talking about like the main storyline?
I mean, at this episode is filled with things that I just don't know that would be interesting to non-Star Trek fans, like or to new Star Trek fans. They won't get the references from
absolutely not
from Dal, and then the storyline, I guess, of unlocking something and figuring out why Janeway doesn't know about the protostar drive, why that's been locked out, all of that stuff. And that Gwen can program all of that is interesting as well, because, she just suddenly did the programming and found this space that was blocked out and then started to unlock it. And
but it's in her language. It's in her native language.
Okay.
That was the other mystery.
Yeah.
It's like, why is there a piece of code or a piece of encryption in the protostar computer database that is in the native language of the diviner and Gwen?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of these like mystery boxes right now.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But she was able to get into it and see all of this data that needs to be kind of reorganized,
including the Chakotay reveal. So
yes. So Captain Chakotay of the protostar.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how that's gonna fit in and all of that is gonna be interesting as well. It's a lot of great tidbits. A lot of confusion for us longtime Star Trek fans.
Potentially, yeah.
I mean, some definite fan service to us, but also some, timeline hijinks that don't really make sense to us. And hopefully,
we'll have to see. We'll have to see what to do with it. But
yeah.
Okay.
Well, and I haven't seen a preview of the next episode, which comes on tomorrow. So,
I haven't either.
So we'll just wait and see what happens next. And although I feel like, at least for Discovery, the previews that I kept on seeing, at least on Instagram, were always coming on Wednesdays before the Thursday episode, like a day.
Yeah, no, they released those late.
Yeah. So, okay, well, cool. So that's episode 5 of Prodigy. Episode 6 of Prodigy. Kobayashi. And do you want to talk a little bit about Coda?
On screen, Riker snapped. With a tap, Keru relayed a signal to the main view screen. Just in time for everyone to watch a vortex of darkness tear Paris to shreds. The Eiffel Tower collapsed into twists of iron that blew away like leaves. The Palais de la Concorde, the seat of the Federation's government, disintegrated like dust falling into a star. The Federation Council building was swept away seconds later. The sensors from Paris went black. The computer switched to the San Francisco feed. The city's skyline flew apart. The Golden Gate Bridge broke into pieces and fell into the bay. Beyond the bridge, a surge of fire and dark energy obliterated Starfleet Command and Starfleet Academy, leaving behind nothing but scoured, smoldering dirt. the feed went dark. Faster than Sarai could keep track, the great cities of Earth were erased. New York, Tokyo, London, Mexico City, Nairobi, Shanghai, all gone within a breath. Then the only remaining view of Earth was the one from Luna. The storm swelled, metastasized out of control, and swallowed Earth whole. Space Dock and McKinley Station were consumed. Darkness hit the Luna feed, then the Mars feed. Jupiter Station went silent. The last Sarai saw of the Federation capital was a long-range FTL sensor image, which captured the moment the temporal storm devoured Sol itself. Half a minute later, the tempest dissipated and vanished, and the Sol system was gone. The star, all its planets, its asteroid field, its Oort cloud, everything. Not destroyed, erased, as if they had never been.
Sure.
We've been promising this for a while, and quite honestly, like, you know, this is now a month in the rear view mirror for me.
Well, we don't have to talk about all the details. I think that we can just give overarching thoughts about. So we both read the trilogy, so I think we can give just high-level thoughts about what we thought about this end to the Star Trek Litverse.
Okay,
and how we feel they did.
Yeah, okay. So let's do that. But first, just a spoiler warning. So, you know,
spoiler warning.
Our friend Sam, who is in the midst of reading this, you may want to skip ahead or end listening here. But if you haven't read Coda and you are going to read Coda or you are reading Coda, now's a good time to pause this recording and come back later after you've finished the whole trilogy, all 3 books of Coda.
Correct.
We did do a deep dive into book 1. We didn't get around to book 2 because by the time you had finished it, book 3 was already out and I was already into book 3.
Yes, you were ahead of me.
But I did call book 2 very Empire Strikes Back like, and I would say that book 3, if we were to use an external metaphor for it, I would call this Avengers Endgame. Very Marvel-esque feeling at times.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess first up, how do you feel like this all wrapped up? Like this wraps up a whole literary universe that began with First Contact, and
what do you mean? Like, you mean in the timeline of the novels?
In the timeline of the novels, this is where the splitting point actually turned out to be, was when the Enterprise went through followed the sphere into the past, but they were caught in the time eddies or whatever and protected from what was happening outside of this.
Yeah, it was a little confusing. It's like, I mean, this crew still goes through what happened in Nemesis, so it's, technically that still happened to them. Maybe that wasn't far enough from like the main that had, in terms of the prime timeline, as they call it, like it hadn't deviated far enough, so they went through the same experience as the prime timeline.
Right.
You want to argue it that way?
Yep, you're right. Yeah, but
overall, I thought it was fine. It was the problem with this trilogy is that where it's headed. You know that they're going to erase everything and they need to reset so that the prime timeline, if as we call it, can reassert itself, and we're going with canon, right? So I had an issue with the stakes of novels, like, because I'm like, okay, so and so just died, but they're all gonna basically die, so to what end? Like, I think that was a big issue for me in reading these novels, and I slowed down in the second book, and it took me a while to get through the third book because I think I just lost momentum because of like I just knew where I was going, and versus like when I was reading, like Destiny. I know we compare it as Destiny because that was like probably the other big trilogy in the Litverse, but I didn't quite know where that was going yet. Star Trek was also off the air, right? So that was different. And you didn't know who was going to make it, who wasn't going to make it. And as I mentioned, I think that the Borg compared to the Davidians is just a very different emotional threat, even though the stakes in this trilogy is much higher. I feel that like, yeah, we just don't have the emotional interest in the Davidians, you know, and it was an interesting, if not kind of left field nemesis for this plot line. And at the end of the day, I think the problem with this is that it's a very faceless enemy, right? They're obviously nefarious, but there's no face to it. It's not like there's no Borg Queen. There's no personality behind the villain, which is why I mentioned to you, I feel that's why Riker got the short end of the stick, because they needed like an adversary that would have some sort of emotional impact. And they basically made Riker go crazy, and he basically served as like the secondary villain in the second and third books. And I don't really know how I feel about that. I feel that because they didn't really have like a worthwhile nemesis to work with that had any sort of emotional impact on the reader, they needed something else. So I feel he really just got like the short end of the stick from a plot perspective.
Yeah, that for me was one of the harder things to kind of swallow and deal with, was just how odd Riker was acting, and
and they explain it, like they have like a reason for it.
Yeah,
it's just like I didn't really like that turn of his character.
Yeah, I didn't either, and until you said it, I didn't really realize and think about it that he was the enemy, kind of the scene enemy versus the Davidians, who we really didn't see and didn't really have a face. Right. But then the interesting twist that I thought was in the third book, I think it was the third book, when they discover that it's actually the Borg who kind of created this time split. The Davidians are taking
I think they find out at the end of the second, maybe, or is that the beginning of the third novel? I don't remember. It actually has melded together. I think it is. I think you're right. I think it is the beginning of the third novel. Yeah.
We discover that the Borg are the ones who
inadvertently, kind of. It didn't mean to create like a new timeline.
No, but they saw, so as the world was changing, that created a separate timeline, a separate Borg universe. I forget what I think they called it, the Borg universe, or
the Borg timeline.
Borg timeline.
Yeah.
And they then shot a beam. Their goal was
chronoton beam or something.
Chronoton beam from Earth, from the alternate Earth, the Earth that they had assimilated, to destroy the Enterprise coming back through the time vortex, to destroy it so that the Borg timeline could continue, which it did. Right. So we've got this other we've got the sort of the mirror universe, we've got the Borg timeline, and we've got
the splinter timeline, and then the prime timeline.
Yeah, so we've got all these different things. So
it got also kind of confusing. I think that the other thing I really noticed about these novels is that there's much more technobabble than usual. It was to another level where I was like, usually I can follow along the technobabble pretty well, but I feel like they like really went far out with the technobabble this time. And I was just like, this is getting really complicated. It got very complicated.
Yeah, it got complicated early, though. I would say even in the first book, it got complicated.
No, it got complicated. And then it got more complicated.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it definitely did get more complicated. But I kind of lost it when they were talking about the sphere that Wesley was using and all the stuff that they were learning from that. That's when it got really like confusing for me. Mm-hmm. And then, I think then it went on steroids after that. And for me also, what was confusing was this alternate mirror universe timeline, which was
right, because his mirror universe was alternate mirror universe. It's like the splinter timeline mirror universe.
Yeah, which you saying that does not help clear it up at all. It just makes it even more confusing.
Yeah.
So where you have these different these different versions, which I kind of in the third book I really kind of did enjoy some of the characters from that. Like it was great to have Kalar back.
Yes, I like that.
And that interaction with her and Worf was very interesting. So there was that, but then we had Luke Picard, who was very sort of disinterested / annoyed by / why did I even say yes to this, by taking on Picard's son, Renee, right, on his ship. So their ships look like the Enterprise era.
It's like the Vulcan ring ships.
Yeah, from essentially Enterprise would be the clearest vision we would have of that. So yeah, it was just kind of interesting. But also
/ that 3 ships episode in Lower Decks.
Yes, yeah. It was sort of totally like 3 ships or 4 or how many ever. Yeah, it got crazy.
I mean we saw the Vulcan ring ship in that 3 ships episode.
Oh, you're right. Yes.
That boat.
And it's
Klingon. It's a Klingon, but
right. Yeah, we did see it, and that ring ship is actually much huger than the Cerritos.
Much huger. Good use of English.
Yeah, English. Whatever. It's late on a Wednesday night, and yes, it was much larger than the Cerritos. So yeah, I'm trying to think of some of the losses that were sort of felt. Like I think losing Cisco was a big hit.
That was a surprise. Yeah, when Cisco died.
I mean, you knew that everyone was going to die. The other thing I was trying to think back to was whether I don't think we ever really saw like the death of Jake and his wife. We don't, and we didn't.
No, I think they made it. Well, they made it. Their ship made it out of Bajor.
But that was sort of.
We don't know what happened.
We don't know what happened to them. We don't know what happened to. I can't think of Cisco's wife's name and their kid. But.
Oh, I don't know the name of their kid. Cassidy.
Cassidy
was. I think Cassidy was with Jake, wasn't she?
I don't remember. I thought.
You know what? Maybe not.
I thought Cassidy was with the Robinsons still, but maybe not. Anyway, so we didn't get to see that. Nog's death was really kind of sad.
Mm-hmm.
Miles, the death of Deep Space Nine 2, and Miles and Kira. So I'm trying to remember. I thought that the Orb of Time piece was interesting, but I'm trying to remember what reinfused that. Was that them going into the was that reinfused when they?
It was a little confusing because they went into the mirror universe and then the mirror splinter universe, and then Kira was kind of able to reactivate it. But what was confusing to me is I thought that the prophets were like, I thought they crossed dimensions or something. I didn't realize that because the prophets in like that timeline died, in the splinter timeline died, right? Because they blew up the wormhole.
Yes, yeah.
But then they were fine in the mirror universe. I was like, oh, okay. I was a little confused by that because I thought the whole point was that the wormhole crossed time and space or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was a little confused. I was like, okay, sure.
So, and then we have Ezri Dax as the captain of the Defiant in that universe.
Right. Of the mirror universe.
Of the mirror splinter universe, right?
Yes.
Splinter mirror universe, whatever. The Litverse mirror universe, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Data sacrificing himself, right? Once again. I can't remember how Data dies at the end. He's with
Data doesn't die. He just he's in the Borg complex, and then they make it to the end. He and Lel make it to the end. Julian dies.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, everybody's dead.
Everyone's dead.
Everyone's gone.
Everyone's dead. So I'm kind of like, all right, I guess that's it.
But there were some impactful deaths. I mean, it wasn't all, all like, oh yes, we know they're dying. Oh, here's another death. There were some impactful deaths.
No, some of them were set up well.
Yeah.
But overall, I was just like, again, I don't know what stakes I was supposed to kind of be putting into it. Like, I didn't really feel it. It wasn't like on purpose. I wasn't like, I'm not gonna have any stakes in this. Like it wasn't like that. It was just like as I was reading, I was just like, all right, but I know where this is going. So
yeah, I kind of felt that way too. But I guess some of the details. Oh, Savick was interesting in this whole.
Yeah, I know those are cool. Those are cool. Yeah, that
was a cool.
Kalar and Savick, like those are cool additions.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and also Ambassador Spock. Ambassador Spock had gone over to the mirror universe with them, and he was part of the trying to get the mirror universe to support this endeavor in the Splinter universe. So I thought there was some interesting things. I thought it was tough to keep all of the things separate, and maybe more so for me listening to the audiobook at 1.5 speed. But
you were listening to it at 1.5 speed?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah.
Oh my god. Like I told you when I was reading, I had to like reread stuff.
Yeah.
Like it was like so confusing.
Yeah, I mean, I went back a couple of times over not a lot, but over a couple parts that I had to really like re-understand.
I don't like reading audio, listening to audiobooks, and I don't like listening to audiobooks at like fast. Like,
I mean, I listen to most audiobooks at 1.5 speed because they do really talk in a steady tone, steady pace, which is like
they enunciate.
Yeah, they enunciate. They're reading out loud, obviously, So I'm like, we can listen to this faster. Like I can take this in faster, and I normally do. So, but yeah, I thought it was really overall. I thought that it was pretty, very complex and well thought out. I think
it was well thought out. Yes,
I will say that the Davidians were maybe not the greatest enemy, but they did that is a unique perspective on how they were eating all the energy from dying universes as sort of the reason that all this was happening.
And then one thing they never gave a good reasonable explanation as to why there was no intervention from a higher power like the Q or the Metrons. Like they name dropped them, but there was never an explanation. And I just don't think there's something like this that would happen on such on a scale without Q at least appearing. Like it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, it's a legitimate thing. I think that too often though, Q is used as like a sort of like time travel. It can be overused and like resetting things, and we're going to see that in Picard. So, I think that there were probably some parameters that they were given, like we're going to use Q in Picard, so you really can't use him in this book series. And even though
or you're right, he's very overused. So,
and to snap and be able to fix things, Picard would have definitely done whatever he could have. He would have sacrificed himself to live 1,000 lives with Q in order to save his universe.
Sure.
So, so there's that. So I think, you don't need any like simple like snap of the finger fixes for this because there was none.
Well, the problem is that Star Trek has introduced these characters. It's not like I did not force Star Trek to create these like narrow loopholes of godlike beings. Like they were the ones that decided that these entities exist. So if they exist in this universe, then you can't ignore them. That's the problem.
Yeah, true. But I guess since they're godlike beings, they can ignore whatever they want and continue with their godlike existence.
But then they also meddle. Like they like meddle when they want. So you can't have it both ways, you know, like that's the problem with narrative, like narrative elements like this. Like you can't have them occasionally just jump in and do something, and then when things are actually, there are like universal stakes at risk, that they don't appear, you know.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Yeah, I think overall I enjoyed this. I would say that the part that I enjoyed the least was the Riker storyline.
Yes, that was just annoying. It got annoying. It got like vexing. And then
completely out of character, like so far.
But there was something wrong with him. He was basically sick. And then but as a result, the character really got the short end of the stick. But then also Deanna got the short end of the stick because of that, because she got dragged along.
Yeah. I mean, I just found his character so out of character, so unreasonable, so crazy, that I was mad at the surrounding characters, including Deanna, for not doing anything about this. Like waiting.
I feel they could have done more. Like they should have I know he's an admiral, but it got ridiculous.
It got so way out of hand and so far beyond, and they kept on saying, oh, you know, stress and, you know, whatever, and it just and I think that was probably the harder part, not only the characterization of Riker, but how all of the characters in that realm, in that storyline, were acting around him, were just seemed like so far out of character. And how they solved it, going into his mind and, you know, doing this mind palace essentially thing. Deanna did, right? With the help of
Tuvok.
Yeah. So it's just, I think that was, for me, the most disappointing part of this storyline was that.
I know. I wish we didn't have to. Yeah, I wish they didn't do that with Riker. It was just annoying.
Yeah.
I don't think it made it better. Like, you know, like I don't think it because yes, I think the reason why it did it is because they needed an emotional villain, but I don't think it was necessary. I don't think at the end it actually helped. Like as in it didn't make it more compelling.
No, it didn't. No, it made it. Yeah, it definitely did not add a compelling nature for me either. But I do think that you hit it on the head when they needed a character. They needed a villain who was known to us, who could fill that void that was left by the Davidians, which there was no face or name or you know, and also they're out of phase, so you really could never see them except in certain situations. So it just, I think that's all kind of, that part of it really didn't resonate for me at all.
Yeah. Overall, I would give it like a B plus. Like if I had to give it a grade, B plus.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I would say it's definitely a worthy read. It's a hearty read. It's definitely a commitment, and like you said, you had to read a couple parts again and go over it, and I agree. Like I would probably even give it just a B. I think there was a little bit too much technobabble.
There.
You know, I think it got a little too crazy with that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's easier to understand or to deliver in a narrative, like a written, if you're reading it, but if you're listening to it, I think it's a complete.
I mean, I read it. I read it, but it was still confusing. Like,
it's just. But so I'd give it a B, B plus. But I think it's a worthy read. I think
worth reading. It's worth reading.
Yeah, I think the authors did a great job in wrapping up that, you know, in a pretty big way. I mean, it's definitely an epic, and kudos to the three of them: James Swallow, Dayton Ward, and why can't I think of the third author?
I don't know.
David Mack.
Oh yes, David Mack.
Gosh. Sorry, David, about that. But I think they did a really robust job of wrapping up that universe.
Robust is a good word. It's a very robust effort.
It is. It's a robust effort. It's a robust read.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's not something that, fortunately they came out 1 month after each other, and so it sort of gave you time to read it.
Oh my god, could you imagine that if they were like a year apart or something? Forget it.
Oh yeah, it would
It'd be
never.
over.
Yeah, it wouldn't work if it were a year apart. Like, they had to release this back to back to back. Yeah. Yep, definitely. So, well, there we go. I think we've did a fairly good job of that. We probably didn't talk a lot about the Borg ending, but that in itself was very.
Yeah, that was interesting. I mean, it was fine. I mean, like it went really deep into like the whole Picard trauma of it all, and
yeah,
I was like.
And then also trying to sync up the timelines at the end, or the 3 stories at the end, so that they all had to happen at the same time in order to end everything. And so that felt a little drawn out as well.
Oh, one thing I did like that we didn't talk about? I did like how they dropped in current Star Trek stuff. Like, for example, California class starships. That was something. That the time crystals on that Boreth.
Oh, Boreth, yep.
Right, like that was another one. Like there were like, and then Picard, when he was meeting with the admiral and he was getting frustrated, he was like, "Should I resign?" I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, yeah, like things like that. Like I thought were like funny and like good references.
Yeah, I think
current Star Trek lore.
Yeah, they probably had a lot of fun in imbibing and imbuing that stuff into the story as well. Yeah, those board scenes were a little like reminiscent of Into Darkness and into just Star Trek 6, like these big board meetings where you're presenting and but they go off the rails completely, like. So yeah, there are some. I think everyone will find something interesting or good in reading it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you may not understand it all. I certainly don't. And then
I guess I would encourage people who are reading it to kind of just enjoy for what it is and not think too much about it and not think too much about where it's going.
Right.
And if you're kind of just there for the ride, it's a good read.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're kind of there along the way for the ride, really. So you kind of just have to go with it.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
Yeah.
Right. So that wraps up the quote. Maybe like maybe once a quarter we can do kind of like a book review or something.
Yeah, I mean, have you picked up Revenant at all yet or no?
I have not, but I am curious about it because I looked into it after you mentioned it. I was like, oh, this might actually be interesting. So
yeah, it's really it's a strong book, I would say. And
you finished?
I did finish. Yep.
I mean, by the time I finish, are you going to remember the book? Like, even if I was to attempt starting?
No, yeah, and
yeah, you're not gonna remember anything.
I mean, I barely remember Coda, thankfully.
Oh my god.
No, I mean, I do remember parts of it, but yeah, it just kind of gets, I don't know. For me, listening to these books, especially because most of my Star Trek reads are audiobooks. For me, it's just like entertainment for my mind while I'm walking or doing other things, and it's just, it's not. I do listen to it at 1.5 speed, and it's just it's just kind of mindless blather for my brain to absorb and enjoy. So, but Revenant's a good read. A lot of great trill callbacks, and yeah, it's definitely, and it's Deep Space Nine. We love Deep Space Nine. I said earlier that we're Next Generation guys, but our favorite series is Deep Space Nine. So
yes, it really is. I mean, it's in that like era, so
yeah, it's right in the middle of the series. I think it comes right after the Way of the Warrior. That's season 4, season 5, somewhere in there. So it's good, and it does talk about Jadzia's other lives, and it does have an interesting take on the symbiote relationship to Trill. So
right. Cool.
So,
well,
yeah.
maybe we will talk about another book someday on this podcast, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
And maybe I can convince you to listen to the audio drama that's coming out of Star Trek Picard, and we can talk about that. I
might do that. I think I'll end up doing that, because especially it feels like if they have like the the real actresses
they did,
participating, then it feels like it's more like canon-y,
Oh yeah, it's definitely canon, and it's essentially it's an audio drama is just a script that they're acting out, and they have post-production that adds in sounds and things like that.
So yeah, maybe. Cool. All right. Well, Mike, do you want to talk a little bit about our sponsor?
Sure. Fansets is the official sponsor of Deep Space Pride and the Trek Geeks podcast network. Oh my god.
Okay.
Yes, it's late. Definitely go check out. I think I talked last week about the new releases for the first part of January, and we're still in the first half. So there's a cool new Uhura pin. There's a Star Trek Discovery pin. And recently they did release some more Women of Trek Series 3 pins, Dr. Gillian Taylor and Janice Rand. So, plus there is that ultra cool Star Trek II Wrath of Khan magnetic ore pin Delta. So definitely go check that out. And if you put more than $30 worth of pins in your cart, you'll get free shipping. And if you use the code DSPRIDE, all one word, all in caps, you will get 10% off your order. And we want to thank Fansets for being our exclusive sponsor of Deep Space Pride and the Trek Geeks podcast network.
Thanks, Fansets.
Johnson, how can people leave us their feedback on Coda, on Kobayashi, or anything else Star Trek related? How can our fans and our listeners reach us?
Yeah, well, we are on Twitter and Instagram. You can reach us there at Deep Space Pride, and you can also email us at deepspacepride@gmail.com, and we'll get back to you in one of those forms, whatever.
There we go.
Yes. Cool.
Well, that does it for this episode of Deep Space Pride. Next week, we'll talk about episode 7 of Prodigy. And who knows what else, maybe some off topic. There is a lot of off topic happening, including The Silent Sea, Marvel Eternals.
There's a lot of off topic for sure.
The Expanse is ending.
Oh my god, I'm so sad. The finale is this Friday.
Yeah, so we have a lot to talk about. So I think next week we'll talk a little bit about off topic, and we'll talk about episode 7 of Prodigy. So
and just like that, we can talk about and just like that.
We can talk about that too. Yeah.
Are you caught up?
No, I'm not.
You did not watch the Diwali episode yet.
I did not yet. No.
Okay.
So thanks everyone for listening, and we'll catch you back here next week.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Deep Space Pride is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks podcast network at trekgeeks.com, or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.
looking at